Hi, I'm Tommaso from Softr team, and today I'm going to show you how to create hundreds or thousands of pages in a pinch of a second thanks to artificial intelligence. Out of all the methods you will find online, this is probably the cheapest and fastest one. In order to get started, you will need a free plan for Softr.io, a free plan for Datafetcher, and a paid plan in your Airtable workspace that should cost you around $10 a month. But let's get right into it. As you can see, I created my nice Airtable base, and I have my free account on Softr.io. I'm gonna create my blank application in order to get started. I'm gonna say that I want to use Airtable, and here I'm gonna copy and paste my API key from Airtable. Of course, I'm not gonna show you exactly what my API key is, but you can see here a very nice GIF of how to do everything step by step. After you pasted the Airtable API key, Softr is gonna do most of the legwork for you, and it's gonna ask you which type of pages and blocks you're gonna need. In our case, we're just gonna need a home page, a list, and a list details page. Our app was created and we're basically ready to go. I mean, if you wanted, you could just click publish and people would be able to visit and use your application. But of course, we want and we need to do more. So as you can see, we have now our list and our list details page. In the description, you can find videos that explain more in detail what these two do. But just briefly, I can tell you that a list page is basically where we can display all the rows that we decide to input in the Airtable table that we decide to connect to Softr. So I would have maybe here M3 number 1, number 2, number 3, and they would all be visible here in this list page. And the list details page is basically what people see when they decide to look into one specific item from the rows that we have in our table. So now all we need to do is to fill in this table and tell Softr what to fetch and where. So let's just say that I run a web app where people can comment on books and where they can leave reviews, anything of that sort. I might want to create, for SEO reasons or to make my users' life easier, a bunch of pages that will basically copy information about very popular books. So I might go to a website like Amazon and decide to get started with this list of books that they have here. What I'm gonna do is basically pour over the main information into Airtable. If you want to get fancy, if the data set is very large, you can just scrape this information very easily with tools like Bardeen or Browse.ai. But I'm gonna do it a little bit manually here just to show you how it works. So I'm gonna prepare my Airtable base with the title of the book, the subtitle, the name of the author, the description that again is not going to be written by us, a button CTA and a button link in case, for example, I want to send people to Amazon to buy the book and maybe even use my affiliate link, an image, and then I want to decide whether the book is approved or not. So basically whether to show it on my website or not. Maybe I'm still doing the last touches, and I'm going to set what the URL slug is going to be inside my website to keep it nice and tidy. And I'm going to set the SEO title and description in order to receive more clicks from search engines. This next step could very easily be automated through scraping, but we're just gonna show you a few examples right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start from the first book, 1984. I'm gonna copy the address of the image and I'm going to add it here in our table. So link URL, just paste it here. This will automatically fetch the image, the cover of the book that we want to showcase. We're gonna write the title of the book here. If there is any subtitle that we can use, maybe we can get it from this specific page. It doesn't look like this is the case. So I'm just gonna copy the name of the author, George Orwell, and I'm gonna paste it here. I'm also gonna copy the Amazon URL. You don't really need anything after the /dp and then the ID number. So I'm just gonna copy that part and I'm gonna paste it here in button link. And I'm gonna set the URL slug to something like 1984, and then I maybe will write something for the SEO title like 1984, all you need to know. So I'm just gonna repeat this step for a few more books, and I'll see you in a second. All right, I have my initial list of books, and now we are ready to get Datafetcher in play. I'm gonna start by adding an extension to my Airtable. Here we go. Once I'm in, I'm gonna say that I want to create my first request and select OpenAI in the application we want to use. Now we need to set our API key. In order to find our OpenAI API key, we can go to platform.openai.com, and here you're gonna see the complete list. We can create a new secret key and just copy it. Once we are done, we can go back to data fetcher and paste it here. We then need to select an endpoint. This really depends on what you want to do, but for our scenario, we're gonna say that we want to create completion from a text prompt. Save and continue. Now we can select the model that we want to use. DaVinci 3 is usually the most common one, so if you don't really know what you're doing, I suggest you stick to it. Otherwise, feel free to experiment and see whatever fits you best. Now the fun part, we need to come up with what to ask OpenAI in order to get the best message possible. So for example, we could ask it, write a description of the book, then click on the plus here and reference a field in our table. So title, for example, 1984, and then click confirm. So now data fetcher is going to ask OpenAI to write a description of the book 1984, for example. The number of max tokens is basically going to set a limit on the amount of words or characters that we're going to get in our answer. Since we're talking about a description and this could be quite lengthy, I would go for maybe a higher number. For the sake of this example, we can do something shorter, let's say 800. And then sampling temperature is something that you can set in case you want the model to be more creative or less creative. For now, we can just leave it as it is. The section output table and view is basically gonna tell data fetcher where to paste the answer that we're gonna get. So definitely table 1 grid view is what we're using. By clicking on more options, we can customize things further, but leaving everything as it is, you should usually get pretty good results as you might have experienced by yourself. Again, here we have some more advanced settings. We can decide to append or to update in case the table and the field are already filled in. But right now we are starting from scratch, so we don't really care. So if you're ready, we can click it together. So here we go. As you can see, everything is almost ready. It's just asking us where each part of the output should go. We don't necessarily have to add everything to our Airtable. In fact, I would say that most of the things we're not gonna copy and paste, but we definitely want the result to end up in our description field. So I'm gonna select here existing field. I'm gonna select description, and I'm gonna click on save and run. All right, as you can see, some time has passed and our descriptions have been written. We can check them out, and if we like them, we can check the box here on the approved column. Why is this important? Because as you can see, a new view has appeared here called approved. And here we're gonna create a filter saying that only when approved is checked, fields will get into this view. Why is this relevant? Because then let's say that we want to maybe take a closer look at the description of this specific book. We don't want to publish it yet on our website. We can just not check this box and it's not going to make it into our approved view, therefore in Softr, therefore on our live application. So now the fun of building begins. We can go back to our Softr account. We can go back to our list page and we can start connecting this list to our Airtable base. So I'm gonna select Airtable as a source. I'm gonna select the base with the book's information from the Airtable base. And as a table, I'm gonna select table 1. As a view, I'm gonna select approved. So the first part is done. We connected Softr to Airtable. Now let's move over to the content section and let's start selecting exactly what we want to display. In the image case, I'm gonna say that I want to display image number 1, basically the cover of the books. I'm even gonna style it a little bit and say that I want this to contain the image, okay? And you can even select the height of the images and whatnot. So let's just say that an M is fine. Then for editing, I'm gonna select the title of the book. As you can see here, we are basically seeing the columns that exist in our Airtable. And as text, I'm gonna select description. Also here, we can customize it a little bit more if we want. But for now, let's say that I'm happy with this. Maybe in the future, we're gonna ask OpenAI to write a shorter description that fits better into this field. Now that the content has been set up, we can move to the actions. So basically what happens when people click on this little call to actions we have here. In this case, we don't care about the top bar one, the one you see here. So I'm just gonna delete it. We care about this one here at the bottom that says update. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open the record and I'm gonna change what the action actually does. Right now, by default is updating the record, but that's not what we want. So I'm gonna change action, clicking on this little icon here, and I'm gonna say open page. I'm gonna tell it to open the list details page. So basically this one that we have here, right? And I'm gonna say, again, going back to actions, that it should open the page in the same tab. You can also decide to open it in a modal. So people would basically not leave the current URL, or you can decide to open it in a new tab. But I would say this is the most common behavior that we can expect from something like this. So the CTA automatically changed to open. Thanks Softr for making it easier for me. And even in this case, I can customize it a little bit more. For example, I could change the color of the text, I could change the color of the background, etc., etc. In case we do not want a button, or we want the button to do something else, let's say, for example, the ability to change the title or the description, we want to give it maybe to some users that we trust, then we can simply rely on item on click. What this is gonna do is basically, in this case, for example, open the page exactly as we set it for the button, but even when people click on the image or click on the title, click on the description. So that's exactly what I'm gonna set. I'm gonna say open page, again, list detail in the same tab. Now everything is ready on the list side, and I'm gonna move over to the list details. So now in the list details page, we are gonna go basically through the same process. In my specific case, I do not like the layout of this list detail. I prefer something a little bit more wide. So I'm gonna select, for example, this one here. So we can delete the first block and start using this one. Same process as before applies. I'm gonna select the data source. I'm gonna select the Airtable base, and I'm gonna select the table. Now we move over to the content section. We connect the cover of the book to the image field, and we can style it if we prefer the cover to actually be contained in the block. We select the title of the book as a header 1. We remove the description below right now because we don't necessarily want it. If we wanted to, we could have tags to, for example, mention what type of genre the book is, but we're gonna hide it as well. And then in the rich text field, we're gonna add the description that OpenAI wrote for us. So here we are. We have the title of the book, the cover of the book, the description. We even have an action button in case we want people, for example, to be able to update the book information. Maybe we want to crowdsource this information from users. This is not what we necessarily want right now. And we can add more Softr features. For example, we might want to add a comment block where people are able to leave their own comments, reply to others, and we can even sync the comments that people do to our Airtable, to another base, and store all the information there. But right now, what we really want to see is whether this is actually working or not and how it's working, because I promised you potentially hundreds and thousands of pages at a very, very low cost and very fast. So here we go. We're gonna publish our app. I'm gonna pick books app as a subdomain, publish. And as soon as I'm done publishing, you can already copy the URL or you can go directly to the application. You're gonna see this is our page live. This is the home page that we didn't touch, so you're not gonna see much of a difference here. But if you already write list, right, you go to the list page, you're gonna see all the books that we have in the Airtable, and you can click on any of these. We already saw how 1984 looks. Let's say that we want to give a look to Stephen Hawking's book. We can open it, and here it is, the title, the cover, the description of the book, and the comment section. So I really hope this video was helpful. I hope that I unlocked you ideas on things you can do with this method. Again, in this case, I only showed you what happens when you have 3 pages, but you could have hundreds and thousands of these. Even ourselves, we are using a similar method to create variations of our templates in order to catch interest from people that maybe are looking for very specific use cases. So really the sky is the limit here. It's a very cheap, easy solution. You can ask any question you might have in the comments. We will be very happy to help you out. If you want to give it a try, remember Softr.io, Data Fetcher, and Airtable. If you don't like Airtable, you're soon gonna be able to do basically the same thing through Google Spreadsheets. So stay tuned, subscribe to Softr.io YouTube channel, and keep up to date with all the new releases that are coming out on a weekly basis. I wish you a good day, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye bye.